Here is everything Trump did this week. Number 1, he appeared in new Epstein files released by Congress. Listen, these pictures are freaky as hell. Here's one of him with a bunch of women at a party. This is him with Epstein, hanging out with his goat. This one is absolutely terrifying. I don't know who the hell decided to take this. I can't even show that on YouTube. What the fuck? This is insane, dude. This is Bill Clinton, good old Bubba, hanging out with Epstein. Okay, bro. What the hell is this? This place was Freak Central. Dude. They had Trump condoms, apparently. That's great. Here's Epstein with the former Israeli prime minister. Him with Steve Bannon, one of Trump's closest advisors. A Trumpkin with an Apple logo on it for some reason. This is just a 0.5 that I'd take of one of my friends. The more I learn about Epstein Island, it just seems like all the boys coming together to do stupid shit. And then also sex traffic girls on the side, which okay. Maybe not. Maybe the analogy doesn't work there. Number 2, he used the military to seize one of Venezuela's oil tankers. It had been sanctioned in 2022 for delivering oil to Iran or even Hezbollah. It faked its location to hide where it was going. It was a very shady vessel, okay? But this is way bigger than just an oil tanker because Venezuela has the biggest proven oil reserves in the entire world. George W. Bush's wet dream is sitting underneath Venezuela right now. And because of that, the US has been trying to get its hands on this oil for decades. The only person standing in the way is this guy, Nicolas Maduro, the leader of Venezuela. If Trump can get this guy out of power and put someone more friendly to the US in power, then they may let US companies back in to use their oil fields, which they haven't done since 1976. And this tanker seizure is one small part of a big plan to kick Maduro out of power so that we can go in and drain this place of all its oil. And while it's true that pretty much every president has cared about oil, like Biden made us the biggest exporter of oil in the entire world under his presidency, it's different with Trump because his entire administration is literally controlled by the oil industry. In April 2024, when Trump was still campaigning to be president, he sat down with all of the biggest oil companies in the US and told them he would do whatever they wanted. You want the environmental rules gone? Fine, they're gone. You want to use our public lands to drill oil? Sure, go for it. You want me to destroy the EV industry, roll back tons of our clean energy programs, literally give $625 million to you for no reason? I'm your guy and I will do it for you. The only thing I ask is that you give me $1 billion to fund my re-election campaign. And that's exactly what he's done. All of these things are real actions that he's taken since he's gotten back into office. And now the next thing they're asking for is Venezuela. Let us come in and get that sweet, sweet oil, and we will fund all the ballrooms, campaigns, and inauguration services that you could ever want. Seizing this oil tanker is not about international law or keeping us safe or whatever the government is trying to tell you. It's about making these oil companies filthy fucking rich, even while no one in this country can afford to live anymore. So, you know. Thank you, President Trump. God bless America. Number 3, he signed an order banning states from enforcing AI rules. Listen, I found something crazy out today, and it is that the US has 0 national regulations on AI. Literally 0. There are no national rules when it comes to AI. People are committing suicide after getting into romantic relationships with these chatbots. Inappropriate child imagery is getting suggested on public media platforms that was generated by this AI. And fake videos of politicians saying stuff that they didn't are being circulated as attack ads. Like, this is bad. We need to lock in and regulate this shit, guys. 97% of people think there should be some amount of regulation on AI. It can't just be free range like it is right now. But it is, because our government is slow in the head and can't pass anything. So the states have been stepping up and doing it instead. Just in the past year, there have been 38 different states that have passed 100 AI regulations trying to protect us from stuff like this. And now the federal government is banning these states from regulating anything at all. Am I just being a crash out, or does this like really fucking suck? But why is this happening? Okay, why is the guy who constantly raves about giving more power to the states now taking away the state's power to regulate this thing? Well, I figured it out, and it all has to do with a guy named David Sacks. David Sacks is a South African investor who is currently Trump's lead AI official. He's a member of the PayPal Mafia along with Peter Thiel and Elon Musk. And of the 708 current tech investments that he holds, at least 449 of them have to do with AI. Yes, the lead AI official in the United States directly benefits from looser regulations on AI. So it's no fucking wonder that this is the guy who pushed for this AI ban in the Trump White House. He is getting filthy rich off of us having looser regulations on AI and all of the problems I talked about earlier. And this isn't all the guy has done. This summer, Trump made 2 deals with the United Arab Emirates, 2 separate deals, okay? Part of the first deal was that the UAE agrees to invest $2 billion in a company named Binance. You know, the same one that let Hamas and Al-Qaeda launder money on their platform. In this second deal, which again is completely unrelated from this first, the UAE was granted access to US AI chips. 2 separate deals, remember, had nothing to do with each other. In order to invest the $2 billion from the first deal, they used a service called World Liberty Financial, the same service that is owned and operated by Trump's family members, as well as his envoy to the Middle East in the White House. The Witkoff family and the Trump families both own this service. He's using his position as president to generate business for him and his friends' families. It's insane. But anyway, in the second deal, the one to do with US AI chips, the deal was negotiated by 2 people. The first being Steve Witkoff, the special envoy that is directly benefiting from the first deal, and David Sachs, Trump's top AI advisor. These 2 separate deals, which are really just one deal, they just don't want to tell you that directly benefit Trump as well as his special envoy, Steve Witkoff, were negotiated with the help of David Sachs. So he's not only using his position as the top AI official in the United States to make all of his AI investments go up, but he's also negotiating deals for everyone else to get rich too. This entire administration is just one big money laundering scheme. And this AI ban he stepped through is just another step in that process. Number 4, he stopped prosecuting a ton of tax evasion and fraud cases. I'm gonna tell you something that sounds crazy for a second, okay? The US currently takes in $700 billion less than we're owed in taxes every year. That is $700 billion worth of taxes that just aren't being paid, whether it's through fraud or evasion or whatever. The United States deficit, how much debt we take out every year, is $1.8 trillion. If we could actually collect this stuff, the $700 billion of taxes that we just aren't getting, we could lower our deficit to $1.1 trillion, almost half of what it is now. And remember, we're not even raising any taxes. We're just collecting the taxes that we already owe. It would be so awesome if we could do this and actually start lowering our deficit every year. But we can't do that. You want to know why? Because the agency that collects taxes in the US is called the IRS, and everybody fucking hates the IRS. Increasing funding for the IRS is incredibly unpopular, not only to regular people, but especially to the wealthy elites. They, like everybody, want to pay as little taxes as possible, but unlike everyone else, they actually have the resources to do it. In addition to them lobbying candidates directly with their own money, there are a ton of these tax lobbying organizations in Washington, as well as 6,000 individual lobbyists that are in Washington as well. They're all crawling around the Capitol pleading with politicians to lower tax enforcement. Like a month or 2 ago, TurboTax and H&R successfully lobbied the Trump administration to get rid of the government's direct file tax option, the one that would make their services obsolete. So instead, we have to pay them money to translate our taxes into something the government can understand, rather than just doing it ourselves with the government. It makes no sense. And over the past year, billionaires have successfully lobbied for Trump to cut tax prosecutions by over 27%. More than 10% of the IRS has been fired since Trump got into office, mostly in divisions that have to do with corporate or high-income tax prosecutions. The Criminal Investigative Unit of the IRS has been almost completely crippled. The Justice Department's tax division has been completely shut down, and a ton of the agents who usually prosecute these cases are being redesignated to like immigration cases and stuff like that. They're just robbing us before our eyes. Like, they're not trying to hide it. We just don't really care enough to pay attention. Number 5, he officially launched Gold Card citizenship sales. These are visas that give anyone permission to live in the United States, given that you pass background checks and can pay the government $1 million. There are also corporate gold cards that let you pay $2 million per employee you want to bring from overseas. And listen, no one is going to buy this shit. We already have an EB-5 visa, which is pretty much the exact same thing, except you get citizenship for spending about $1 million on a company rather than paying it directly to the government. If he replaces the EB-5 visa with this shit, all that's going to happen is money is going to be taken away from businesses and instead given to the government, which last time I checked was a tax. He's literally just invoking a tax if he gets rid of this EB-5 visa. And at the same time, it'll just encourage illegal activity. Like, what reason would a rich person have to come to the US now? You know, if they didn't have citizenship already, why would they now want citizenship out of nowhere? If they really wanted to, they could go live in Dubai, okay, or Saudi Arabia. There's many very rich countries that will take you in and treat you much better than the United States tax system does. If a super rich person doesn't already have citizenship in the US, then they probably don't have it for a reason. And creating a new avenue, even if you do have background checks for them to come in, creates more risk of bad people entering the country. Number 6, he allowed states to restrict which foods people can buy on food stamps. Stuff that people can no longer buy includes soda, candy, energy drinks. 41 million people in the United States are on SNAP, and over the past few months, they have been getting absolutely cooked, okay? Trump has cut a ton of SNAP funding and kicked millions of people off of their plans. We remember that whole shutdown thing where Trump canceled all SNAP benefits for like 2 weeks, and now they're trying to nitpick and restrict the types of food that these people can get with their SNAP benefits anyway. These guys are just like the government's guinea pigs, bro. They're performing little experiments on them to see what types of food they'll like and not like. It's fucking barbaric. Like, just feed the people you promised to feed, bro. Most people turn to sugary foods like this because they're cheaper and they can get more of them on their SNAP cards. If you want to make the country healthier, there are way better people to start with than the ones that are gonna like go hungry if they don't buy cheaper foods. Number 7, he announced a $12 billion aid package for farmers. When Trump got into office, he thought it would be a good idea to start a trade war with every single country in the world. And it completely cooked our already struggling farming industry. Fertilizer and farming equipment costs are currently skyrocketing. More than half of all farms are currently losing money right now. Farming defaults are 56% higher than they were last year. Like, these guys are absolutely cooked. Do you understand? The people that vote for Trump in droves are the ones getting most affected by his bad policies. So naturally, the solution to this problem is not to lift the tariffs that are causing this problem in the first place. It's to just give them a little bit of money as compensation. Money that we are collecting from the tariffs themselves. So if farmers are losing a ton of money because of the tariffs Trump put in place, and we are now using the revenue gained from those tariffs to pay back the farmers for their losses, why the hell do we have the tariffs in place at all? We're just rotating money back and forth and taking away all the farmers' customers while we're at it. It's a net negative. Nothing is changing here, okay? Except the farmers' industry is now completely destroyed in America. Number 8, he ended protected status for Ethiopian refugees. Remember, protected status is what we give people who can't return to their home country. If there's a war or a famine or something horrible that you would have to face, if you go back there, we'll let you stay here for a little bit. Except not anymore, because now we're just kicking you out. Trump has now ended protected status for 10 countries around the world. This affects 695,000 people, which is over half of the current protected status population in the United States. So yes, over half of the people that are seeking refuge here are now just getting kicked out. And he's also in the process of removing TPS for 8 other nations around the world. What does this mean for people under TPS? It means that they are now illegal and can be deported by ICE. You might think this is a good thing, okay? Maybe you agree with Trump on immigration. Maybe you think we need to get criminals out of the country. And this is one step to get more illegal people out of the country. But these people weren't illegal a week ago, okay? They were legal residents of the United States. Trump is creating more undocumented immigrants. He's not getting rid of any. And it's not like it's because these guys were committing a ton of crimes either, okay? One of the requirements for TPS is that you haven't committed a crime in the past, okay? They check for that when you come in, which obviously results in these people committing way less crimes than natural-born US citizens. So Trump isn't doing this because these people are committing crimes. He's doing this because he can't find anyone else to deport. He just started a new deportation push in New Orleans, and he has a goal of 5,000 arrests. He is not going to hit this goal. Currently, he has 250 arrests in the entire city. For reference, in the city of Los Angeles, he got 5,000 total arrests during his deportation push. And Los Angeles is a much bigger city than New Orleans. They go into these cities with these huge expectations for who they're gonna deport, and then they fall short every single time. So to make it look like he's doing something, Trump is trying to open more people up for deportations so that they can get more arrests. People who, again, have never committed a crime as is required by the program. And this is all while only 7% of the total people he's arrested so far have violent criminal convictions. If this was all about getting violent criminals off the street, why are 93% of the people we arrest not violent criminals? So one of two things, okay? Either the US sucks at finding these millions of violent criminals that they've been talking about for the last 4 years, or they never existed in the first place. And judging by the data, it looks like they're not there. So why do we have this insane deportation push anyway? Number 9, he completely overhauled the Financial Oversight Council. After the Great Recession, we created this thing to monitor banks and make sure they weren't doing anything risky. They would look at all the banks, figure out which ones were most at risk of failure, and then recommend stuff to do to fix that. And this was all to keep another Great Recession from happening because, you know, everyone fucking hated the Great Recession. But now we are changing course completely because the new directive inside the FSOC is to start lifting these regulations from banks and making it easier and less burdensome for them to operate. So they can use our deposits to make riskier and riskier and riskier investments, just like what caused the Great Recession in the first place. The board that was made to stop future recessions like that one is instead now fueling the next one. Our country has such short-term memory loss, dude. Every single guideline and rule and regulation we've set up to protect ourselves from these things happening is just getting lifted like we never needed it in the first place. So when the next crash happens and everyone gets burnt because of it, we're gonna deserve it, because this is what we're doing. And finally, number 10, he announced the start of another ceasefire between Thailand and Cambodia. He's done this like 3 times, okay? It never holds. This one won't. Trump's strategy is to first announce the result that he wants to happen, like it already has happened, and then wait for everyone else to actually affect it. Sometimes this strategy works and it actually does work out and everyone's like, oh my God, thank you, President Trump. And then other times like this, it doesn't work because he hasn't actually done anything. He just announces that a ceasefire has started and everyone does it to protect his reputation. Now for Trump's court verdicts this week, a judge has blocked a lot of Trump's halts on wind energy permits. On Trump's first day in office, he paused all new permit applications for wind and solar projects, probably because the oil lobby funds his campaigns, but you didn't hear that from me. But now the judge is saying that Trump isn't allowed to do this and he actually needs a reason to halt applications of these permits. There's a reason the president can't just do stuff like this at will. Trump tried to, so now the judge is saying he can't. A judge blocked Trump's National Guard deployment in Los Angeles. He ordered that all the troops be brought back because Trump hasn't proven that there's any need for them to be there. Usually these things get contested or appealed, so we'll see what happens, but for now, the troops have to come back. A judge found that Trump unlawfully canceled disaster relief programs. The BRIC grant program gives people money to recover from natural disasters, and Trump canceled that funding for no reason. You need approval of Congress to do something like that, so the judge has blocked that action. A judge has blocked an attempt to arrest Kilmar Abrego Garcia again. Remember, this was the guy who was mistakenly deported to an internment camp in El Salvador. Very exciting. And then they tried to bring him back and rearrest him on different premises. And after a ton of back and forth, the judge ordered that he be released temporarily. But then a judge ordered that he return to ICE to be arrested again. And so this judge has now blocked that judge's order and allowed him to temporarily remain free. The judge said she did this because if you have too many actions too fast, it degrades the trust of the court system. So for now, Garcia is allowed to go free. A judge ruled that Trump can strip Medicaid funding from Planned Parenthood. Last week, they sued Trump for a law he passed stripping Medicaid funding from this organization, saying that it was unconstitutional. They said the law was overly ambiguous and that it could restrict abortions for people who are gonna like die and stuff, people who really should have them. But the judge has now ruled that the law doesn't do that, and it is allowed for Trump to take away Medicaid funding from them. And finally, a judge ordered that the DOJ overturn any materials illegally seized of James Comey's lawyer during their case against him. The judge says investigators held on to material seized from Comey's lawyer after the investigation had already ended in 2021, which is a violation of the 4th Amendment. So now they're forcing the investigators to turn that material over, and then they can restart the case at a later date once they follow the correct process. In other news, a federal judge has cleared the release of more Epstein documents. The administration asked the judge to clear the release of these documents after Congress voted to release the files last month, and now the judge has said that he will. So there are really no more excuses for Trump at this point. We've gone through every barrier there is. There's no one left to ask for permission anymore. So if they come out and they look like this, which let's face it, they probably will, there's gonna be no one to blame but Trump's own DOJ. Like, they have full permission to declassify and release pretty much everything in these documents. But I promise you, they're doing everything they can to take as much information about Trump out of these files as possible. They are gonna look like this, whether we like it or not. The House voted to overturn one of Trump's executive orders. This is the first time this has happened in the second Trump presidency. The House voted to overturn an order that ended collective bargaining rights for a ton of government workers, over 2/3 of them. Again, this is the first time they've done this so far, so it's a pretty big deal. But it still has to pass the Senate and then get signed by the president himself to go into law. So, you know, Good luck with that, guys. 2 U.S. soldiers and an interpreter were killed in Syria. The Pentagon said he was linked to ISIS, and the Syrian government has said they condemn the attack. But this is another roadblock for the president of Syria, who's trying really hard to convince everyone that he's in control of the country. And this really doesn't help his goal that much. And finally, a shooting at Brown University killed 2 and injured 9. They had a suspect in custody, but then they released him. So apparently the shooter is still at large. Now for our trackers. We don't know what inflation is because Trump has delayed releasing it. We also don't know what unemployment is because Trump has delayed releasing it. We don't know what eggs or gas are because Trump has delayed releasing those as well. But we do know that Trump has so far spent $110,600,000 of taxpayer money playing golf in his term. This is more than twice as much as Obama had spent during this same time period, and more than Biden spent during his entire presidency. I'm super sorry that I missed the long form video last week. Work caught up with me. I did not manage my time well. If you guys want to make fun of me in the comments, you can. I give you full permission to, but hopefully we should be on a regular schedule now. Thank you to our first ever Patreon supporters. Let's go. You guys are absolute goats. And yeah, 2026, lots of big things coming. Okay, lots of big things. I've got plans. That is if I don't kill myself before those plans come to fruition. Thank you for watching. Have an excellent week, and I will for sure be back next week, Tuesday, with another video. Take care.